Hey, hello, welcome. Welcome, hey. I don't know if anybody's watching, but I'm gonna get started. Uh, oh, too much. Nope. One of these zooms in. I guess it's just that one. Sure. Uh, so here we have a pen and ink drawing from an old German book on Earth's geology. Let's see if I can. Well, okay. I don't know how to actually access the where it's from. I had that info at some point. No, I don't. But no worries. Uh, yeah, this is from the British Library, which has posted sort of scans of all of the books that they've collected that are in the public domain to Flickr and sorted them by keyword tags. So if you want to find a bunch of old images of ferns that are in the public domain and free to be used, this is a great resource. And I like learning technique by kind of finding these and then really delving deep into how they achieved the penwork that they did. This caught my eye, so I thought that we would go ahead and try to draw it. Maybe not like the whole trunk, but I was thinking this is, I don't know if it's easy for you guys to see, but this is a cube that folds up. So this is the bottom, these are the sides, they fold, and then this is the top. Or, you know, like it's a cube, so any of the faces can be any which way. And I've just gone ahead and put in what are definitely going to be hard cuts, which are all of the tabs between all of the sides, so that you have a gluing surface that folds underneath the where the two pieces of paper come together. You have a adhering surface. So that's what these guys are. And then in order to maybe make the transitions more smooth from side to side to side, I did it like this. I left these relatively empty rather than kind of drawing cartoon edges so that every single edge had a black border around it. Right, so this tree has this kind of houndstooth kind of deal to it. This is from my translation of this, my machine translation of this. This is the ideal or kind of artistic rendering of a scene of a rural piece of land in the Steintochlen period, which is like the German word for some specific, I think the coal-bearing period, the Carboniferous period, because these look to me like the kind of massive trees that became all the coal deposits that we find today. Especially these trees, this scaly pattern is something that is, there are these big asparagus stalk trees that have this same scaly pattern. Anyway, let's get to drawing it. And if you guys have any questions about technique or about what I'm doing or about why I'm kind of making the choices I'm making, just put them in the comments. I understand now that I've watched a lot of YouTube, and there's a fair amount of kind of YouTube pattern. Oh, right, sorry. This is our warm-up drawing. We're going to be getting to these ferns, which we're working on. This is like an encased set of ferns. We're only going to do this one side. We're going to do this other side as like a digital reverse. Um, or, oh wait, no. This other side is like a different, it's made out of steel, so it's going to look different. Right, so these ferns are going to be only drawn on this side, and then the steel's going to be duplicated kind of in negative behind them. So we don't need to go all the way into the background on these ferns. But we're not going to get to those yet. We're just doing this little warm-up exercise here. And I guess what I've decided to draw with this little warm-up during the COVID-19 kind of quarantine that we've been under, I'm also trying to figure out which of these pens is still like a really good pen. Oh, I should be wearing my glasses. I can't see without my glasses. My glasses! Right, anyway, I've been playing a lot of Minecraft. Basically, a podcast I listen to and have listened to for a long time has a pretty big fan base. They started a Discord chat server related to that podcast, a podcast called Do By Friday, which is kind of three good friends talking about current events and joking, and two of them sort of work for and run Cards Against Humanity, and one of them is like a former productivity blogger who's now kind of a reformed productivity blogger. It's not that he'll neither like confirm nor deny, but I don't know. If you look up Merlin Man on the internet, you'll see that he's an internet personality and that he feels real shame about it. But that's his own deal, and he kind of owns it, so whatever. Wow, yeah, the difference between these two pens is like significant. This one's really running dry. So these are Micron PN. The PN in this case stands for plastic. Like, they all became one big company all at once, which is a little bit weird. In any case, so these use archival ink. I think that the ink is alcohol-based. I can't quite remember. But Micron makes a whole line of these pens, and a lot of them have little tiny felt tips. I use the plastic nib ones because I tend to put a lot of pressure into my hand in order to have a very controlled point. I really grip the pen, and I really kind of push my pens into the page. That's something that I've tried for 2 decades to write lightly, Connor, lightly. But, in order to get this precision, it seems that I just have to like really slam these tools. And so the regular felt tip microns, I just destroy them really fast. They lose their nice tip really quickly because I crush the felt against the page, and then it doesn't draw right anymore. I don't know if this camera is going to focus. It seems like getting a camera to focus is like 95% of YouTube live streaming. Almost. Hey, okay, pretty good. Anyway, you can see that that's basically just plastic, right? And there's like a little plastic ball in the middle of it there, but essentially it's just like a plastic nib. And so it takes quite a beating until the sort of middle part kind of gets one edge of it that's a little bit different from the rest, and then this round circle starts turning into an oval, and then the ink flow starts to degrade. So, frustratingly, I have yet to find a tool where kind of like it runs out of ink before I destroy the tool head. And so I don't want to say that there's like a fair amount of waste in my process, but I will say that, like I would rather go through one pen a year, and, hey, focus back here, guy. Come on, back on the page. We low on light? Is this the problem? Is that helpful? Alright. So we are listening to some free music here from the Free Music Archive. This is under the kind of old-time and historic section. This is D. Yan Key's My Life from Fast Swing Reloaded. We're doing kind of a jazz, old-time historic blues mashup. Good stuff. Right, yeah, but I understand now how there's so much of the YouTube live stream patter that all sounds the same in every single video. Smash that like, fam, hit that bell, type stuff in the comments, and I think part of it's just that, like, wow, this platform does not give you very much feedback at all about what is going on. I can kind of see that, how many subscribers does it believe I have right now? It also made the live chat really big. Oh, it thinks that there's kind of 2 people watching right now, which I don't totally believe, but that is what it is. Right, yeah, anyway, so I've been playing Minecraft on this Minecraft server with these kind of internet friends. That's been very good. It's kind of like gardening in a public garden. Everyone's working on their own stuff that they're building on their own part of the map, and we all feel like little kings and queens of our respective kingdoms. And the guy who runs the server, who's also a friend of the podcast, which is why the server is associated with the Discord channel that's associated with the podcast. I'm getting sloppy here. I gotta focus back on what I am drawing. Anyway, yeah, he's like the supreme being that rules over the server, and so we kings are nothing compared to the mighty Warhite. And it's an interesting server. It has a lot of plugins, and it tries to kind of take the core Minecraft experience and just extend it a lot. So there's a focus on improving your crafting skills over time, and on like a really big range of monsters to fight that are all kind of custom, and there are these blue guys, and those guys are pretty scary, but then there are these pink guys, the elites, instead of the veterans, and the elites are really scary, kind of teleport you to them, teleport themselves to you, throw you up in the air, which is tough when you don't really have like air controls. You don't know where you're going to land, and you don't have control of your own movement because they've propelled you, which is pretty terrifying in a game that there's falling damage. The underground cliffs and caves are just as deadly as the creatures that make their lairs in them. You know, the environment is lava's an awful way to go, and it also kind of chews up all of your items and melts them. So you can spend your whole royal treasury trying to acquire a magic sword, only to, you know, not even have it die in the fires of Mount Doom, but die in like the sort of geologic substrata of your own kingdom, which is, you know, embarrassing. It's Minecraft. It's your mine, and yet you have put yourself at risk here. So I am not following how this tree is drawn, because this tree seems to have diagonal lines as well, right? I have left white all the spaces between these scales of the tree, and in the photo, or in the drawing from this German geology book from 100 years ago, it has diagonal. Wood has black detailing, which ends up being kind of diagonal lines going up the trunk. What's very cool is the way that this was done here. You can see the grain of the tree deviates right there, which is pretty neat. This is definitely revealing that I did not quite follow plan here. Yeah, I'm not sure. I might have messed up my own creation here by trying to hone too much to the original image. I clearly did not approach this the way that they approached this. Looking at it now more closely, it looks like they did all of the vertical lines first, and then they went in and did the X's, the crosses, the kind of scaling. So I have to say, as I put more of these lines in, even though they kind of follow their own natural pattern, which is lost the warp and weft that, I guess the rigor of warp and weft that's in the photo, or in the reference drawing, I'm starting to find it really pleasing looking. Right, so why are we doing this as a cube? Well, one, it's kind of a little warm-up cube, so I thought that would be an easy way to get started on things, and, right, wow, we're already 24 minutes in. So, warm-up cube. And so in Minecraft, you get these tree blocks, right? When you are taking a tree apart with an axe, like if you were taking this apart, you would end up with a bunch of rectangles of tree that have bark on the outside edges, and then they have kind of like the interior and the bottom side of the interior on the top and bottom. And I think that's charming. So let me try doing it this way. On this side. Right, this is a warm-up, so it gets to be an experiment. We don't need to do everything the same way. We can vary the sides. This is the perfect opportunity to try to not try to continue on doing the kind of like first try, first pass guess at how this other artist put this together, put these trees together, but come back in and do a second pass. So I think because this was a book, this is probably not, what this is probably is like a lithograph or like the original, I'm saying, the reference drawing. It's an etched or a carved plate of some kind, so that either the ridges or the valleys pick up ink and then deposit it back on the page, or the ridges do, but whether those ridges are formed because you bring them up, or formed because you carve everything else down, or the image that you're producing is kind of both. In any case, so what we want to make sure to get is the kind of sizing here. And let's be metric. These are about 1/2 centimeter wide. Yeah, maybe 4/10 of a centimeter. And how are we on rise and run here? So you can do slope, right? But since this is already dock grade paper, we can do the 3rd grader version of slope, which is just like we're going 3 up and 5 over. So when we're over here, if we want to start at this point, we go 3 up and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over, and like bam, ruler's in the right place. So a way to keep naturalism in your drawings, even when you are using a ruler, is to not use the ruler all the time, right? Use the ruler to establish one correct line, and then build off of that. 3 up, 2, 3, 4, 5 over. What's appealing about this side and why it looks interesting and not like a total mess, though I think I will go back in and make sure that some of these have complete coverage. What makes it look interesting is that there is some natural detail. There is some variation that makes it look like it is organic. It didn't grow like a rectangle. It didn't grow totally straight, because nothing grows straight. We gotta make stuff straight. Well, very few things grow straight. For the most part, we gotta make the stuff be straight. So that's cool. And this is the kind of nominal top and nominal bottom. Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't actually know what these trees are made up of on the inside. So I'm just gonna do a quick Google and maybe pull those Google results over in to this. Coal forests during the Carboniferous period. Um, the Lepidodendron, also known as the scale tree. That's what I believe that this is. And here, from Wikipedia, is a mold of the outside of one of these scale trees, which is pretty incredible. Yeah, this is the rest of that page. They look like this, which is pretty sweet. So they have these kind of pine cone pines. They have this top part, and then this was... Wow, this says artist's impression of this. This artist definitely just took like the sort of like background image and then did like a rough tracing. Interesting. Yeah, this is all like sort of clipped from photos. It's the same couple of pieces of image. Cool, I had no idea. I just hadn't looked at that in detail before. Thank you, Wikipedia. Right, and then here is a Dutch conservationist doing this. Oh, right, yeah, so what do the insides look like? It says the stems and branches of the trees contain little wood as compared to modern trees, with the majority of mature stems consisting of a massive cortical meristem. It's a meristem. Epidural, tissue and plants with undifferentiated cells capable of cell division. Oh, whoa, okay, right, weird. Okay, so it just, like, it's such an early kind of tree that it doesn't make, oh, it doesn't need to make woody tissue, it can just make, growth tissue because there weren't seasons, there weren't even dormant buds. Okay, cool. Lack of growth rings and dormant buds, no seasonal growth. Right, oh, so this is like coal um, of what they became. Fossil growth? In Scotland? No, that's getting different from where we're at. Right, okay, so let me try Googling. This is part of making art. This is part of doing research. We're not even at the regular thing, and we're already 35 minutes in. We're just warming up. But I want to make sure that I do this right. I want to know. Okay, cool. Okay, so it just doesn't have growth rings. It has this outer bark, and then it has this very inner xylem that goes down the middle of the tree. Who did we learn this from? Paleos, life can take time. Oh, thanks, buddies. This is great. Cool. So it said in the reading there that these divots in the outer bark, the scales, are because this thing's constantly growing from the center out, and from, it's not like it's just growing on the outside only. The whole bulk of it's growing. The bark has no choice but to just like scar and heal over and scar and heal over and scar and heal over, and so it ends up doing so pretty consistently. So I'm just guessing from here what this should look like. This also is kind of like the rounded square Minecrafty version of what this block is like, and so I'm not really going to worry too much about what we're at here. Alright, I think the music has changed. Where are we at with that? Now we're listening to Lobo Loco. This is from the album Retro. This is a track called Malte Jr. ID 737. So how would you use this in your D&D game? Well, it could be used as foreshadowing. Something that, a technique that's used in a lot of movies and literature about, well, I don't know if I need to like re-explain foreshadowing, but I guess a foreshadowing technique which I enjoy seeing in other things, and which I think you could use this to employ. Wow, I don't know if that was a good sentence or not. I think that you could apply it here. You could use this to make this foreshadowing happen. And that's simply that this is one piece of a much larger thing, a much larger operation, if this is just a single block of one of these trees, at Dungeons and Dragons scale, this is a half-inch dot grid, and so these are each 1-inch sides. So this thing's a 5-foot by 5-foot block of, I guess not wood, but secondary xylem and ground tissue, which is fine. Very cool. And in a fantasy world that has giant dragons and other kind of mega predators, there's no big reason not to have huge plants, and there's a lot of good reasons to have them, right? I mean, like, those predators need mega herbivores, and those mega herbivores need mega plants to eat, or, vast fields of regular plants. But if you got a world that presupposes some magical creatures, you might as well not limit yourself on the flora either. And mycelium and the bacteria and everything, right? Even the viruses. Lycanthropy is one hell of a viral disease. Imagine if we had COVID lycanthropy. God. I don't quite know that I want to imagine that at all, so maybe don't imagine that. Alright. This looks pretty cool. Oh, yeah, right. So if you had a couple of these printed out and you had, an encounter group arrive and find a room where there's a whole bunch of these chopped up and kind of stacked, maybe like 4 or 5 of them, you only need 4 or 5 of these in order to convey, like, something huge makes these huge cuts. And these things, when they're assembled, are a giant tree. What chews that tree, and what chews the thing that chews that tree? Like, how big do all of these creatures get? And so, yeah, as a piece of the environment that your players are moving through, this kind of vast, chopped up tree trunk provides some real mystery. Like, how did this kind of industrial process occur that created this huge Minecraftian tree trunk? So, moving our little encounter group back. I'm going to declare done on our little warm-up here. So this is sorry, it's not a carbon or a conifer, it's a carboniferous. Okay, I'll just make that my name instead. Oh, I got a little boop. Oh, okay, well, unrelated. And we're calling this the carbon affair. Carboniferous. And I'm just Googling. Right, scale wing. Right. So the other lepid, this is a lepidodendron, right, a scale tree. The other lepid is Lepidoptera, which is scale wings, right? Butterflies and moths. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you guys their scale wings. And by zoom in, I mean find an appropriate picture that shows their wings at scale. Boom, there we go. Yeah, look at these little guys. Hey, oh wow, that's more than I needed to know. Right, this is what their wings look like. This is 500 micrometers. What's this width? Very cool. Alright, okay, so backing out all of that, we got our warm-up finished. On a later stream, I'll scan this and clean it up and print them out, and we can see what they look like. See what they look like in a real RPG context. So the coal that gets mined throughout the world, and which for a long time has been mined in Pennsylvania and in Appalachia, a lot of that coal is formed out of this very kind of tree. They would grow basically from edge to edge, right, from one side of the horizon to the other, just these vast marshy patches that had proto-trees and very little other competition, because this was sort of early in plant life, and so they just built these swampy layers hundreds of feet thick of the fallen, sort of like unoxygenated trunks of all of these guys that just layered and layered and layered all of this carbon, and then as that got buried and sunk into the earth and shifted around and put under immense pressures, it got fossilized and turned into coal. And so this sort of compressed, fossilized coal wood, which now has all these little air pockets in it where all of the organic matter that wasn't carbon eventually kind of went away. When you burn it, it's got so much surface area from all of this undifferentiated growth tissue inside here that it burns hot, and if it burns hot, then you can make steel with it. And that's modern society. So we've done our fossil stuff here, and that's a nice warm up. I'm gonna take a little 5-minute break. It's 2:48 right now. I think I will come back and I'll start in on this just a little bit. Let me see. So what we're going to be adding next back here is like a Boston fern. This is some more figures I got, and then also a Staghorn fern if we want. This is like a hanging Staghorn fern. This is a hanging Boston fern, and this is a Boston fern in a small basket. So, bring these guys in. over here. Hey, we're back. So, here we are. Welcome back. So we got, well, welcome back to me, I guess. I'm back. Right now we're listening to the Heftone Banjo Orchestra. This is an album called Music Box Rag. It's listed under Old Time/Historic. And it looks like right now we're listening to Policy King. That's the name of the track. So we'll let that play. We are drawing this fern. So what's going to be interesting about this is that this fern's very much in the background, and I want to draw each of these fronds. Well, I don't want to draw each of these fronds. I want to draw the outline of this fern. And that's kind of dubious. Would it be easier to draw that one? No. Okay, well, I didn't think that we were going to encounter this, but, well, we're going to go back to our warm-up page, because, I'm going to do some problem solving. Some testing. These little guys. These are some lizard men from somebody's Warhammer army that I picked up, at Legions Gaming, up in the North Hills above Pittsburgh. Very cool. They even have little magnets drilled into them for sticking where they're supposed to stick. This is Apex, which ex-girlfriend painted. Very cool, right? Like the most meanest monkey in the whole planet. The apex of primates. And this is a big, angry dinosaur guy. I think explicitly a saurian from Reaper Miniatures Bones. Plastic. I like plastic miniatures because they're achievable, right? Like they're, there's no barrier in terms of money. Like, it's very cheap to start collecting plastic miniatures. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just reducing each one of the fronds here to, right, so when you're looking at a frond, it's got this main stem, and then it has these parallel sets of pinnae, as we learned a couple streams ago, come out from it on either side, but the shape they end up making, as you can see from the drawing, is basically like a long, kind of flat, either sword. There's actually a fern called a sword fern, or a sword frond, but yeah, kind of a diamond shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reduce this drawing here, and I'm not going to worry about what it looks like. Finally, I'm not going to worry about how to do shadows. I'm not going to worry about any of that. I just want to reduce it to one diamond per frond. Oh, and here I'm bending the rules, right? Because the fronds are kind of different shaped when they're out here. So, what are we finding out here? Yeah, this isn't even all of them, right? This is, I think I have only got maybe like half of these bad boys. Uh, so does this look like a fern? It's got the right shape, right? I mean, it matches that. Um, it would be helpful if it was darker. And it would be helpful if you could see that it was so toothed, you know? So maybe we can do that just by, rather than actually putting each pinnae in, can we just hint that uh, each of these fronds is a complete plane, and that there are pinnae, and that the focus should be on that kind of arching uh, like toothed, but bilaterally toothed nature. Ah, now this is starting to look kind of cool. I like what this is doing, and I like that one of the sort of side things that seems to be happening is that dimensionality seems to be coming through because I am letting these overlaps go. You actually get some of what you see in the photo of interesting dark patches forming naturally just where the leaves have layered up behind each other. And this is the kind of happy accident stuff that Bob Ross talks about, which is, you know, this drawing technique is absolutely an artificial replication, right? An artificial imitation of the look of this real biology, because I know that it would just be too fiddly and it would not look good if I was to go in and tooth every one of these for like a background, you know, behind this stuff that is the foreground and has the most detail. It would be inappropriate to have anything more shaded than this, and even this, well, that's looking cool. I think that smaller and behind there, and with just fewer pieces but more perfect replicas of them, uh, will achieve a really nice effect, while also keeping this not the focus, right? It's starting to blend into the background. It's important to have to convey that these things are just chock full of ferns, but uh, this is just about the amount of detail that might come out of the background, maybe even less, you know. If we were working in more than pen, if we intended to color this, I might just draw the outline, but even the outline would almost be too much in its own way. But I think that this is turning into a really interesting compromise. Uh, Cool. Okay, well, that's pretty awesome. And then this, just to give the basket some justice. Uh, right, cool. Okay. That I think will fit in great behind here. Uh, so let's just do that again. And here, because this is, not the test drawing, but the real piece, the thing to do is just to draw this at about half of the speed that I would draw it, or that I just drew it just now, during the test. And that's really hard. This is the hardest part of being an artist or becoming an artist, is that there's just to kind of hold the state here where I'm very present with the drawing and thinking maybe 80% about the drawing, and maybe 20% about what I'm saying, which is why I keep having these long pauses that you're hearing. But that's okay. I'm more important. I'm not more important. I care a lot more about this drawing going well than the stream. The stream is, I mean, it's nice to sort of imagine that there's an audience, but given that there's no questions in the chat right now, I don't imagine that anyone has any questions for me. So the stream being here to get me in my seat, that's what it's here for, and it's working fine. It's working just fine for that. Right, but going slow is, important. It's hard too. It's a difficult thing to sustain. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of mental energy to kind of hold this spot. On really good days, it doesn't take very much energy at all. It feels really natural, and you find your groove pretty quickly, and then you're just, you're off to the races. But other times it takes work. Sometimes it takes work. It's just a fact. And I guess the trick is to know that sitting through this, is the work. The muse is nominally a divine entity that's separate from you, in which the seasons of your life have nothing to do with when creativity wishes to strike. And so in some ways it's more about how often you can show up ready to hang out with the muse than how often the muse chooses to visit you. Uh, I'm really digging these jazz tunes. I've always been a fan of good picking, you know. And ragtime too, you know. So having both kind of banjo and guitar and syncopation, oh, it's lovely. You know, it's a wonderful feeling. Some classic mountain music, some classic delta music. Fiddles, banjos, guitars, little mandolins, accordions. These are the tools of Irish folk music, the tools of African American folk music. Oh, little drums too, little drums and pipes as well. But between Appalachia and the South, God, this country had rhythm, rhythm to spare. Well, rhythm to exploit, but it's neither here nor there. Coming out, I was really worried. I'd set this aside for a little bit too long. I'll have to go back and look and just verify which stream it was that was the last time that I was really cooking on this one. So I feel like it was more than a week ago. Is that? I don't know if that's right, but feels like it. Anyway, it was a long enough time away from this thing that I started feeling real precious about it. I feel like I probably could have allayed those fears. Allayed those fears? Allied those fears? Well, definitely assuaged them. We can use that. That's a good word. I could have assuaged them by scanning this, you know, because once I've got a scanned copy of it, I think of that as, you know, I mean, the 1200 DPI, it's essentially as good as the original, except it's digital, and so in that way it's slightly better, because it can be manipulated and cleaned up before it gets printed again, and it could get printed at a different scale. It can do, once it's in the computer, then you can just go to work. So yeah, I could have scanned this. That would have allayed my fears about drawing over the original, but would have slowed me down, and I'm trying to learn to not hesitate so much in this work, because it's the work that I want to do for the rest of my life. It's the work that I want to take seriously and do professionally. And professionals, I mean, this is not like a judgment on non-professionals or like a judgment on myself. This is just kind of the nature of a professional, quote unquote, as like the kind of archetypal like person who takes their job seriously and tries to accomplish it in a manner befitting the profession, who tries to be an archetype of their profession and acts in a professional manner. Right. Professionals have a mastery of their craft that means that they don't hesitate, right? It means that they've learned to just dive in and to fix it as they're rolling. Hey, that's pretty good. I'm feeling very good about that. I like that a lot. I think that worked out really well. And it definitely has unified. I do think that this guy got a little bit lost, and that's kind of sad. So maybe as I go back in, when I'm building it out again, I can make sure to differentiate this a little bit. I can go and clean this up so that this guy pops a little bit more behind this one. But wow, I mean, this came out great. I think I need more, I think I just need a couple more. And then we can start on the steel. Cool. Now this guy, how to draw this guy? Where would I put him? I think I'd put him here. Like he would almost be an outline, That's a little bit tough to draw, but I think I could achieve it. So let me just do another little test drawing. I'm hesitating again, but I just want to make sure that this isn't too busy. Staghorn, different kind of fern, very different. It's interesting. It'll live for hundreds of years over at Phipps, the conservancy, the flower garden. That's kind of Pittsburgh's Victorian age botanical garden. That's like a public, though, $25 a ticket or $40 a ticket or something. Except special days where it's much cheaper. But it's for weddings and parties and the G8 summit. Now it's definitely like a rich person's venue. Oh, and it's closed right now. Thank you, COVID. Wow, yeah, okay. I don't know how I would accomplish just doing the outline of this. That just seems like so much geometry to screw up. God, yeah. Okay, so that's like half of it. Yeah, anyway, so staghorns can live for a couple hundred years, or 100 years at least. Phipps has one in a hanging basket that it's not even really a hanging basket anymore. It's like a basket of itself. Uh, title. That should be the title of this. Basket of itself. Right, but it's, I don't know, 4 feet wide. It's totally crazy. Um, I think that it must have some spongy material that is what it uh, is kind of growing in the way that this does. But it seemed to be just one big plant, you know. Uh, okay, so that's super busy. That's like way too much. So I think that that won't do. How else can we achieve this? So, if we just did an outline, the geometry of this is going to be so messy. I feel bad for all of the individual leaves that I'm gonna kind of chop and rearrange as I ignore the way that they truly intersect with each other and kind of wing it. But this is, I guess, the state of the art right now. Okay, that seems like a big enough thing that it's going to be its own. Just show the barest hint of dimensionality. It's probably too much detail even. Gosh. This is so frustrating. Like, I don't know if you can, well, if you could see, I was really squeezing this in, turning the knuckles, because it's just kind of stressful to draw this way. This is not, oh my god, now this just looks like a giant turnip. Yeah, this is not an easy way to draw this thing, and it's definitely kind of an all or nothing way to draw this thing. Right. Right, oh, and here's where I'm just making up some geometry, so, sorry about that. It's just, important to get down. Okay, cool. So, I guess maybe I will just shade this. Let's see how that looks. I think I know what I'm going to do for this. I think I've figured out the middle ground here that's going to look good. So let me go ahead and finish this gesture out. Complete it as the object that it intended to be. Oh, no, this is not. There's no there. Can't do that. Okay, so I don't know if your guys' brains jump to where my brain jumped to based on what I have drawn so far, but this is where my brain jumped to. Okay, so that compared to that, right? And remember, let's hold this over here. So this stuff is what we got so far, and we're gonna add this somewhere in the background back here. But we're not adding this. This is a mess. This is way too busy. This, darker, but less busy, right? I mean, it's like one kind of clear thing, but I think we can do one better than this. I think we can. The hint here is that these are going in different directions. So here's what we're gonna do. This is gonna be weird, but I'm gonna see if I can do it. So we had that technique earlier of simulating the fronds, simulating all the pinnae on the fronds by giving them a uniform directional coloration. And so what I am doing here is extending that idea to just showing the value of these, you know, the weight of the kind of shadowy idea of this as none of the outlines, but just every single one of these fronds. Just the kind of body value of every one of these fronds. No outline, just here's how these guys kind of all stick out in space, and it looks messy because it is messy, but it's very accurate. Well, that part's kind of a mess. And then the ball that they're on is actually kind of all of this hatched up kind of moss stuff. No, maybe that's too much. That's looking better. But I think that actually these overlapping leaves are too busy. And this overlapping, I think that there's still too much that's too busy. So let me try again, but just doing no outlines, just an even field. And yeah, there's a little bit of overlap and value being conveyed by me actually going over this field multiple times, even though it's the same field. Different leaves are going down the same channels, and so those channels are just getting subtly uh, subtly darker and subtly anew. Yes, I think that this is very much the right strategy. I think that this will work out great. All right. You know, we might not even need. This is like too much even to have that. That looks right. So it's gonna go here. It's been I've always loved this song. Yeah, I know. It turns out that my family's particular American story, my ancestry, brings us through New Orleans. James McCarthy was a very early Irish immigrant ancestor of mine, and he came over, settled in Algiers, just across the river from the French Quarter, and brought the family over, a couple folks at a time. Died of fever in Algiers, in New Orleans. So it is the start of, but also the kind of first haunting Gothic death in the American story of our family. Okay, leave it alone. This is great. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone. Are there more ferns I want to draw on this side? I don't know. I don't think that there are. I think I'm happy with how this side looks. And I think I'm going to call it a stream. We've been going for an hour and 40 minutes here. My throat's tired from kind of chatting at you guys all afternoon. But wow, look, I mean, we did this whole page of ferns. That's awesome. And you know I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use this one somewhere else because I like how these two came out a lot. I think they came out great. This is well on its way. I'm going to declare victory on the fern side, and we're going to flip into the next stream, and we're going to do the back of the stone, and then we're going to do the steel that makes up the back of this, the kind of steel wall that makes up the back of this. That steel wall is going to get reflected digitally over here so that it looks like these ferns are in front of that steel wall. That's in part why I'm trying to keep this light, because I know that there is going to be a kind of gray and white texture behind this that's the sort of reflection or internal backside of this wall. So that's what we'll work on next. Thanks everyone who watched this, and if you're watching in the future, thanks for watching in the future, man. Good stream, you know. I think we did good. I think we did great. When am I streaming next? Saturday the 18th, 5 p.m. Eastern. So maybe I will see you guys then. Have a great day. Stay well.